Welcome, everybody, back on a new day on planet Earth, a new week on a Monday here at the Martin Segal Theater Center, the Graduate Center CUNY from New York City in Manhattan at the City University of New York. It's another week and months of confinement. We just learned all stores will keep being closed. Restaurants will be closed for one more month. Everybody is torn between the realities we see outside, the uncertainties inside, and the spring and early the messages of a summer, but we really do not know what will be going on. The numbers are still devastating. Our healthcare workers who are now at the forefront, the people who are overlooked by so many, perhaps also by us theater artists. We think we have to find new ways to reconnect to our audiences and define them and treat them as people. And you know, they are worn out. We hear it's a really hard time, and there's so many questions out there. Will universities open? Will sports event open? In Germany, the soccer game started without audiences. Italy slowly opened out. France had the D-Day, the opening of a deconfinement day, and so we'll see how it all will go. Latin America has devastating numbers. It seems to slowly arrive there. Testing is coming out, and so we are continuing our mission now in the 8th weeks of talks with theater artists from around the globe, significant workers in the field of theater. And today we have an extraordinary theater artist from Indonesia, a country we do not know enough about, we don't focus enough about, and we all should. It's the 4th largest country in the world. It has the largest Muslim population in the world, over 15,000 islands, as we just learned. It's a place of great tradition of theater and of course of literature and arts in general. And with us we have the great Maria, or as she likes to be called, Ria Tree Sulistyani from the Papermoon Puppet Theatre company, the Asia Society. Rachel Cooper said, Frank, you have to have her on. She was supposed to come to New York, to Lincoln Center. It didn't work out. And they're doing extraordinary work anyway, but also to this time. So welcome, Ria. Where are you right now? What time is it?
So hello everyone, my name is Ria. I'm at my house right now in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. And now it's 11 p.m. actually. It's time to bed, but it's good to have chat.
Yeah, that's good. So so do you have your family with you, or how is it going? Are we in your workshop? Where are we?
So we're in my house right now. So this is my kingdom actually. My husband and my son is already on bed. So
they are both sleeping.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Stay there.
They are not watching the talk. No.
Maybe he's watching it from his phone cell actually. But yeah, now I'm at my house because it's in the evening. So, but usually in the morning I still go to my studio.
So, what neighborhood do you live in Jakarta? Where are you?
So in Jogja, I live in the center of the city, which is actually inside the palace area. So for your information, in Jogja, we still have king, which also run as a governor. And then there is a kind of like the area of his palace, but people are actually live there as well. So
it's the palace area.
It's a palace area, yeah. But we are not the palace family. We are not the royal family, so we're just sneak inside the housing area. But yeah, I live in the center of the city, and our studio is 7 kilometers outside the city. So it's surrounded by forest actually, and nearby cemetery.
Oh, beautiful. So tell us a little bit. What is going on in Indonesia? What are you? Do you have to stay at home? If so, how many weeks, days? What's going on?
So since I think maybe the middle of March, people are starting to be asked to stay at home and all schools closed. So this is the 2nd month of it. Like all closed, like no schools. My son have been, having studied from home since March, and then no office. like most of the office are closed as well. I think this has happened. I couldn't say like for all parts of Indonesia, because you say it's 15,000, but it's actually 17,000 islands.
17,000 islands, yeah.
So it's really big. So, but since most of the people here work in informal section, so some of us kind of like, you know, still try to find a way. You can still go to the market. You still can go to kind of like, of course, hospitals or going to pharmacy. But in a way, like, because in Jogja, it's actually quite a tourist city as well. So no tourists, no travel around. So it's, for me, it's the best time for Jogja because it's very quiet. But yeah, I think starting this weeks, people are kind of like starting to go out and then going to the shops. And I think also there's no really clear information from the government of what should we do. And I think also, in the other hand, it's the character of the people. So it's kind of like, it's very hard to control in a way. I
So
can
there
say
is you don't have to stay at home. The government does not say you have to pay a fine. In Qatar, we hear someone suggested, no, you're not wearing a mask. It will be 3 years of prison. I think in Romania, for some minorities, at least the Roma people, we talk about, they have to pay 3,000 euros. How is it there? Do you have to wear a mask?
Oh, yeah, we do have to wear masks, but there's no fines for that one. So it's kind of like, it's a public social kind of like, we can say punishment, but like people are actually telling each other. So what I found it's very interesting is actually starting the first, it's not really lockdown, but it's like independent quarantine, I can say, because each individual, they're doing their own quarantine. And then it's starting that, because we know that there is lack in the beginning, there is lack of the clothes for the health workers in the hospitals. And some of our friends or some of the tailors, they switch their work and then they help to make those clothes independently. And then people donate some money and make those stuff, and also making masks. And then this month it started to be shifted a little bit, because people start to be hand in hand to help each other. By some people are, some artists, they stop to do their arts, of course, because of this condition, like they're not making performance, but they cook. And then the other friends are buying their foods, so those kind of situation is happening to help each other, basically.
But what is the situation with infections and people who died with COVID-19? How is the situation?
The number is not really clear, actually. That was published to the public. I can say that seems like the government is starting to would love to start the herd immunity, but it's kind of like, so again, like I've told you, that it's still a bit unsure here and there. And then people were saying like, oh yeah, most of the people who got the COVID-19, it's mostly the one that got a problem first with their lungs. So those kind of, so that will be fine, but we still have to keep ourselves in distance. Those kind of very variety of condition, I can say with that. But I can say that most of the people, hopefully, we're still thinking of, just stay at home and just go out in a very minimum way.
But it's not as devastating as in New York City or in New York State.
Oh no, yeah, no, not really.
So you feel your government did the right thing and things are working?
Well, I can say that Indonesian people is quite unique. It's not really easy to control. I can say that, but like I saw some news in United States about there's some political situation also involved there, and then it makes it very hard. And I can say that people here is kind of like, especially in Jogja, people are really I can feel like they're taking care of each other. So yeah, I can still feel it's safe because of the community itself as well.
Especially in American hospitals, but also old age homes are hit hard, but you don't have that kind of situation at really. All. Maybe you also have less old age homes and they're more family structures.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a theater artist, What did it mean for you? Are you at all working? Do you have things lined up? Can you go and perform? Are there rehearsals?
Well, actually, all of our, because most of Papermoon's production are toured to internationally, and of course, until December, we don't have anything happen. Lots of our touring abroad were, of course, canceled. Like you said about Lincoln Center, we're supposed to be performed on May, but of course, it was postponed. And then, this is the time that people, of course, we couldn't do any stage performance. But we do some stuff actually, because starting off the 1st of April, we decided, I was just thinking with Papermoon's team as an artist, what we can do, what we can help in this kind of situation. So we decided to, can I do the share screen now, right? Is it okay?
Of course. Tell us what you decided to do. So you're not doing puppet shows or online performances. What are you doing?
So this is what we did in the very beginning of the what do you call it?
COVID-19
the order
crisis.
to stay, the order to stay at home. So starting on the 1st of April, Papermoon start to do this in this time. It's exactly like what we are doing right now. The series of talk with puppetry artists around the globe. And then we did it for 18 days actually. And every day at 2 p.m. Jogja time, we interviewed lots of artists from around the world, basically. So
almost 3 weeks you had every day an artist.
Yeah. And why we are doing this, it's because we found that we know that lots of our friends who lived abroad got a very different situation with Jogja. I can say here we still have our studio. It's still possible for us to go to studio.
So you can go in studio in a small group. You go and you rehearse.
Yeah, exactly. We still can do that actually, but in a very, very minimum way, because we are taking our own scooter and then go in a very minimum, kind of like amount of people as well. So we found that lots of our friends abroad they couldn't get that opportunities at all. Even they don't have tools in their house to make puppets or, making their arts. So by doing this talk, we are kind of like saying hi and asking them how are you, and talking about their love in puppetry. And we found that it boosts their energy, like it gives a really positive energy to them as well, and also to our other people who listen to that. We do this through our Instagram, and then it's very interesting because lots of people are following that and asking questions. So it gives another feelings, it gives another perspective of life in this period.
Where do the artists come from? The artists you have on your...
We do have from Thailand, Singapore, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, United States, Japan, Hawaii as well, Taiwan, Vietnam, French. So yeah, Turkish. So it's quite spread around the world.
It's a fantastic idea. What did you learn? What do puppet artists say around the world? How do they deal with the crisis? Or what did they find that works?
This is what we found very interesting, because most of them are saying that, of course, this is a very hard time, but in another way, we give the space for Earth to breathe. This is what we found very interesting, that the universe is having a big rest out of the craziness of human being, So we found that, okay, this is the time that we give the space for Earth, for the universe, actually. So yeah, this is what I found very, very interesting with this conversation with other artists. And then the other thing that we did, actually, we do this as well. It's called Storyteller, in your pocket Storyteller. So we ask people, they can ask us to make whatever performance they want. So I can say they bought a ticket and give us one theme, and then we suit 3 themes together to make one production, very short performance. But then we will send them directly to their phone cell through their WhatsApp. And then
let me get that right. So you, instead of artists having an idea and then trying to get the audiences to see the puppet show, you ask audiences, send us your ideas. You take 3 ideas, you create an artwork and send it digitally to their phones.
Exactly. So we made like around 100 performances, because we do have like maybe 229 audiences buying the tickets for making this happen. And it's been great. I mean,
So you created over 100 little improvisation shows.
Exactly. Exactly. Maybe around 70 to 100, around that kind of
and how much
amount.
do people have to pay to?
$10.
So I could commission you guys.
And exactly. Because what we were thinking in this position, that lots of people were really struggling with their job. Many of them, they lose their job, of course, or they don't know what to do. But in the other hand, also everything happened just only on the screen, right? So we found that we could accompany you in a different way, because you couldn't see performances. All that you can see is all movies or documents of performances. But how if someone make a little gift for you that it's made specially for you? So we found that this becomes very interesting approach as well for that. And then
can everybody see the shows, or is it just those people, the 3 people who commission?
Only those 3 people who can see the show. So it is very, very special for them, because on the day they opened the phone and they said, "Oh, I got this. Okay, I have to be ready." Some of them say it's great, it's beautiful. Some of them say, "Oh, thank you." So we never know. And
so
then
if some of our listeners, if they go to the website Papermoon Puppet Theatre, they could go and commission a work.
Actually, it's already happened. So
it already happened. Okay.
We made 2 batch for that, like two sessions for that, and then it's already finished. But then
incredible idea. I never heard of that. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. And then also, as an extension of that project, Storyteller, we decided also to give those performances to the health workers. So in our Instagram account, we ask anyone who knows someone who work as health workers, and who you are thinking that they will be happy to receive a little gift from us, which is a tiny performances through their phone. Please give us their name and then the reason why we need to send it to them. And then we have plenty of messages came to us to send these photos of those amazing heroes. And then we send our performance to them, and they say, like, this is for accompany your break in between your daily work. So this is
did they like it? Did you get feedback?
Yeah,
from the help?
What did they say? Like, it's really make their heart warm, because lots of the time they got gift as from foods, like people are donating foods or coffee or anything, but performance, no, never. They never got that. So this becomes very special for them, because they can see something that we choose. Also the theme that it's kind of like lighten up their day, to make them feel better, I can say.
What are themes you do for healthcare workers?
Like love, or like what do you call it, the birth. So it's kind of like some things that give hopes, warmth. So those kind of themes that we kind of like sew together. So we send it to them. So these are the photos of those people who received some of them.
And then these for the healthcare worker around it right now.
Yeah. For that, for the previous photos. But then also we had another projects that we did, because we know that lots of people keep working through Zoom or Google Meet, always through screen.
Yeah.
And then we found that, okay, let's make something that they can do something with their hands. So through our Instagram account, we say that we would love to make an online puppet making workshops. So everyone can make their own puppets from home, while we are having, a package to send to them through postal service. So this happened. So we send them a package that contains all the materials, because we know that they couldn't go out to buy their materials.
So it's paper,
wood, glue, yeah,
colors,
everything. And then we send it to them. Yeah. And then we do have 2 sections of class, we can say. So they can try to make, I sent the video tutorial for the puppet making. And then we have the first class to meet when they can, like say about what is their problems and to know each other, of course. And then the second session is the presentation of their puppets. So it's that was my very first time to do online workshops, actually. But
What a
it's,
wonderful idea. So you're sending the packages, you're commissioning ideas from audiences. This is truly a unique approach. So did they also then did a story, right? Did they do the puppet, or you also developed stories with them? Do they write little
no,
stories, or?
we're just making the characters. So they're talking about their characters, who are they, and then how they can play around with that. And we discuss about why this character looks like the maker. So those kind of, because most of them, they never make anything like this before. It's very new for them. So the complicated process for making the fingers. So those kind of situation, but not really going to the stories yet. So
and who finances that? Who pays for the packages, for the mailage? Who, even if people commission you for $10 or for a healthcare worker, certainly that's not enough to keep you working and going. How is that? How does that work?
Well, this is the thing about us. I can maybe stop the sharing this thing first. Okay. So what we found these days is it's not about is it enough or not for us, but at least we can still create something and it keeps the engine warm, because I think that this is the most important part, like
keep the engine warm. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Because we found that if we keep being frustrated with the condition, I thought that it won't get better. The thing that can makes people feel better is actually to keep spreading the positive energy. And we know that the income that we got from doing these online workshops or commission the storyteller or everything, it's not the same with what we usually had daily before. But then we found that it's not a big problem, because because this is the most important part, is to keep the engines warm.
But who pays for it, or who pays for you? Do you get help from your from Indonesian government?
Nothing.
Or do you have, so you pay out of your own savings?
Yes. So for the workshops, actually people pay to join the workshop to get the package.
But still, it's not, most probably not fully covering the costs.
Exactly. Yeah. And also for the performance itself, we just running it, cover it by those money, but also Papermoon is, I can say we are paying our artists basically. But this is the point that we found that, there is something that more important about the money in this kind of situation. And that's about to support each other. And we found also, because for your information, in Indonesia, we don't have like clear grants, like big grants for artists from our government. And like I've told you, there are 100 million of people live in this country. So we can say that Papermoon is an independent puppet theater company. So we survive by selling merchandises and making productions, and also running our International Biennial Puppet Festival. So those kind
merchandise means you have T-shirts, or what do you do?
Yeah, you do have
and
T-shirts,
what else?
notebook, tote bags, artworks, many different types of mugs, many things.
So you're completely independent, artistically operating small enterprise that never expects to get money from a government, but so you had to early on find ways to support your work. That is truly inspiring. And how are you well known in Jakarta, in your town? Do people connect to it? How is it connected to the community, what you do?
Well, I can say that we are very lucky that we got a big support from our audiences and friends. I can say that Papermoon is quite lucky in this condition. That's why we kind of like, we know that the way that we keep to, nurture the communities, nurture the audiences, or taking care of them, it's really a big point for us, because we survive because of them. Well, yeah, I don't know if you're famous or not, because we're not in big TV shows but yeah, we got in, like we kind of like have a quite big audiences if we do performances. So
yeah, you're well known also here internationally and there. So that's incredible. Also, you know, for our audiences, I mean, especially in the US, there are cases that people break into hospitals, steal disinfectant and masks to resell them on the black market. This is a company of artists, performance and theater artists who take their own savings, their own time, and work to make the world a better place. And I think this is what theater and makes theater and performance people and the field we work in so special. They are very generous, they are open, and we really keep the world we live in mind. And do you feel some of the things you do now came out because of COVID? Did you had new ideas, or is this things you already did before? Mail-in puppets, commissioning plays. Did you do these things before, or is it you came up with this now?
So for the storyteller, we did this production live performance. Actually, we have a little tent only for people to they can come and see the performance. They can commission us with any kind of themes. We did that before.
As part of an improvisation.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But then when we shift the medium, then it changed, you know, like how we will make it happen. But then right now, because we are actually keep thinking about, should we, you know, screen our documentation of our last or previous production in the way of, you know, moving from live performance to digital. But we found that no, it's not like what we would love to do. So these days we are actually doing some experiments for our new productions that we thought that it would be just only be fit if people see it online. So so yeah, we are still cooking these ideas, and hopefully after the Eid al-Fitr, the big Muslim day, we could start to produce that one.
I know you are still in the last week of Ramadan.
Yeah.
Do you do any artwork in this period? Do you do performances or?
These days, because it will be a week before the Ramadan, we are not really making productions this time because all of our team starting to have break and go back to their families, because some of them they are split quite far, so they have to reunite again. Oh, thank God it's happened. So yeah, for this time we are kind of like cooking some ideas, but the production will be happen maybe around June. Yeah, around June.
It's remarkable. We had Lola Arias, who is a filmmaker and playwright and director from Argentina, who has something completely different but somehow similar, and they are similar because they are so different. She had performing knowledge sessions. You ask writers, is there something you work about, something you keep on your mind? It's somewhere in your archives on your hard drive, but you have never really shared it. Do that. And she used to do that live in a small theater. People would come and talk about something they're obsessed. And now, of course, in COVID time, they can't do that. But she said, why not doing that online? So she's creating a series of artists who then do that talk online. And the same as you did. You said we did these kind of stories on demand with audience as kind of an improvisational theater practice that one knows from stand-up comedy, but also here you use in the puppet work. And then you say, why not commission work? But it's a complete change, a reversal almost. So you do get commissions by the audiences without curators in between, or without people saying you get a grant for this or that. It's kind of a direct democratization.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the arts. And do you think you will continue doing this? 100 is a large number. You did it some stunt, right? But do you think it's a new form you invented and it will continue, or do you think it's just one idea we tried out during COVID?
No, I think this is really interesting ideas to be developed as well. So we love, I mean, our connection with our audience is really close, I can say. For example, like every time we finish our production on theater stage, like live performance, we always invited audiences to come on stage and to talk to us, touch our puppets,
every performance.
Every single performances. So that's how we actually really feel like audiences are really big part of our hearts. So yeah, through this storyteller, we found that, oh my gosh, the reaction are really interesting, because you couldn't get the direct reaction in the same time, Frank, because it's very different, right? Like when we do the storyteller inside the tent, 4 people in front of us, we can definitely see their reaction. And how they see the puppets alive. It's very different with when you see the puppets alive on screen. So we found that it's always some things that you couldn't replace with screen. But that's why we found that, oh, maybe we have to try to find another way that makes this production is exactly just only for screen. So we don't know yet. So yeah, we are still cooking that ideas, but I'm very excited with these new ideas. It's actually based on the storyteller and we develop it again.
And maybe one day you combine, you send packages, people make their puppets, then you get ideas for stories from them and you write this with them or do something. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and it will be a new way that technology helps you to connect. That couldn't be done before, but it's an ancient technology to make puppets. I mean, Rancière, the great French philosopher, said if an ancient traditional form of art meets a new technology, something interesting happens. Takes a while, but this is one of the innovative models we heard about on our talk, and I'm sure inspiring for everybody who is listening. Tell us a little bit about making theater and performance in Indonesia. Is that easy? Is it complicated? Do audience enjoy? Do you have restrictions? Is there censorship? You already said there's no financial support. You have to raise all the money by yourself. So tell us a little bit about the realities of making theater.
So in these very fast, big, huge countries, each places has its own very different ecosystem for arts itself. I can say for the contemporary arts, it's there are very, very few big cities that kind of like you can say it represent the contemporary arts these days in Indonesia. So the lack of facilities within the countries itself, it's also give a big impact to that development of contemporary arts. But of course in Indonesia, like the traditional arts is just happens everywhere. So it means that all of the people, they have that, it's in the genes. Arts is in our genes. So I can say that even they're not going to like a conventional theater, like black box theater production, but performances happen a lot on the streets. Or
tell us a bit. Well, tell us about those performances.
So for example, I can just say about the contemporary production. For example, we have very, very few black box theater in Indonesia. Very few. In this city, in Jogja itself, we can just only say one or two. And it's not
How many people live in your city?
Ooh, I'm not really counting it.
More or less.
Quite, I don't know, like a million? I don't know, I'm so bad.
So it's one black box per 1 million people.
Exactly.
But theater happens outside. But now so many theaters are trying in Europe, say, we should leave the black box, we go outside. You have been doing this for centuries. So tell us, how does it work?
With that situation, there are lots of artists actually build their own spaces or give a reaction on that art scene, so they can do performances anywhere. Of course we do have like concert hall here in Jogja, but not really in a good facilities with the lighting and the sound system and everything. It's run by the government, I can say, but yeah, well, they're like just only very small piece of cake for so many people. Yeah. So I can say that for Papermoon ourselves, we do lots of performances in site-specific play as well. Like we do performances in antique shops, or of course still in a black box theater. But then we try to explore spaces. So
like what spaces?
Like I've told you, we did performance in antique shops or library or people's houses. So yeah, it's kind of like, and also
so people
also there are some kind of like alternative spaces like coffee shops. They kind of like could be collaborate together with artists. For example, every 2 years we host International Biennial Puppet Festival that run by and initiated by Papermoon since 2008. Mm-hmm. So this year is supposed to be the 7th edition of it on October 2020. Last 2 years we had 75 artists from 16 countries came independently with their own money. And then we make the production, the presentation of their works in black box theater, in coffee shops, in the garden, and also in the village. So we bring them to paddy fields, make performance in paddy fields and in people's houses or under the shades. So those kind of really mix of variety.
Fantastic. Actually, kind of theater. If New York theater restarts, it will be, I spoke with Marvin Carlson yesterday, the great historian of theater, who they said it will most probably start again in small spaces, you know, what you'll be doing now. And he said it might be also a good thing. It might be some reflect for us. Of course, it's a tremendous loss in the industry, all the people who are out of work. Broadway is a big employer of technicians, musicians, actors. And so it's an incredible loss for a city like New York that also defines itself through the arts and through this theater. But these are changing times, and so it's important to hear, you know, what works. So do people, the cafe houses, do they pay you? Do they commission you? Do you pay to be there? How does it work? They just say, okay, come tomorrow at 2 p.m. and build the show, or how does it work?
It depends on how the, you know, the collaboration happen. But most of the places here, we kind of like, you know, okay, you can use our space for free, for example, but your guests need to buy some drinks from us. You know, this, I think in off Broadway situation, it's also maybe happen almost the same thing, kind of like off Broadway.
Yeah.
And then also some spaces we need to pay, but still with kind of like reasonable price. So that's why, and there are plenty of festival happen in the city, Frank. Like I can say, I think some people ever counted, like some organization ever counted, in Jogja itself, we do have around 350 festivals in a year.
Really? And one per day, basically.
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. And it's mostly our independent festival.
That's incredible. And people go, enjoy it. And, and
so,
this functions all without state government funding.
Yeah. So some of them, they got supported by the government, but also lots of them, they just supported by the communities, or they just do it because they've thought this is their passion. You know, this is like, some of the people are still thinking that making arts is actually part of their religious, spiritual process. So I found that this is, it's how.
So art is part of the everyday life. There's not a strong separation that you work now and live, and then you go see that you feel it is connected.
Yeah, there are some of them are still like that, especially those who are kind of, I can say that lots of artists are still doing that stuff like that.
And tell us a little bit, why do you do theater? What is your idea? Why did you decide to do theater in Indonesia, where your country?
Well, honestly, I was graduated from social politics, communication studies. I never learned theater in a formal way. And puppetry is something that I found along the way. But living in Jogja, it's kind of like being artist is contagious, I can say. Like, you know, you have plenty of friends and they're artists. They're doing art activities. Like, you know, Jonet, right? Like you said about, and he's one of my former director few years back, like long time ago. So we kind of like got influenced by each other. And then for me, in the beginning, I love making performance, because for me, it's kind of like making magic. But then I joined a theater company for 4 years, and then I decided, oh, maybe this is not for me. I love the performing arts production, but not as an actress. So I moved out. I teach. I taught in kindergarten. I work in a ceramic studio. So I jump around and trying many different things. And then I end up with my husband, because he is a visual artist. So we decided to combine performing and visual art. And we found that puppetry is the thing. And I found that, especially with puppetry, I found that this is such a magic. It's a bridge to communicate between people. Because sometimes people couldn't talk to each other. They need something in between them. And we found that with puppetry, we can really say about really sensitive issue with, even with nonverbal performance, because Papermoon's production are nonverbal. So
nonverbal mean there are no words?
No words.
Why?
Yeah. In the beginning, we tried to make performances with verbal performance with puppetry. But then on the on a long way to go, and actually it was found on 2008, and I found that, wait a minute, all of these words spoken by the puppeteers, it's not the puppet's language, it's the puppeteer's language. So I found that, oh, maybe we have to reduce the words slowly by slowly. But then on 2009 until 2010, me and Iwan Effendi, my husband, the co-artistic director of Papermoon, we got grant by the Asian Cultural Council to stay for 6 months in New York to do research about puppetry. So it's actually giving us like really big brainwash through our mind. And we found that, okay, let's just try, because we found that puppetry has its mother language, which is the gesture. So since then, we decided not using words. And then the first production that we tried to make that with complete no words and no gibberish as well was a production about the 1965 tragedy of Indonesia. So it's a silent history. So we found that it becomes a very primary reason for not using words, because it's a silent history.
So it was the history of Indonesia. Tell us about themes, other themes of your work. What are the plays about?
So for that piece, it's called Muatirika. So that piece was actually toured to United States as well, to 7 cities under the Center Stage program. And that's where actually Rachel Cooper also saw our live production. It's about, because in 1965, there is a big tragedy about the killing of the communist people after the 1965 to 1969. And also lots of communist people were taken to jail without going to the court. And then until today, it's still kind of like a very sensitive thing to be spoken, to be discussed. On 2010, we found that, oh, we have to just do this, because we know that the younger generation getting less and less understand about that history. It was not in the history book. And of course, if it's written, it was written by the power, by the big power, the winner. And then we found that, it's not true. It's not completely true. So we try to, and we understand that this could be happen again if we don't understand about what happened in that past. So that's why we found that it's very important for us to make the show about that piece.
So that's incredible, though, as you said, it people cannot talk about it, so you make a silent piece about it with puppets, who in a way don't have they're not actors, they don't have a political agenda, they are pieces of wood. Basil Jones talked about this, how that helped him in South Africa, how he felt they could messages across, because a puppet, after all, is an object. It could say things, they of course used words, but it can do things makes you think. And
yeah, that's right. And it's also very interesting when we perform that piece in the United States. There are a couple of people came to, like I've told you, because we always invited audience to come on stage, and they say, like, I remember that was in Pennsylvania. There is a German lady, old lady. She came to me and she cried so hard, and she said, like, this is what happened with my family when the West German and East German separation. So I was just like, puppetry with non-verbal performance, it becomes very wide, because you can project your story to that stage and you can build your own narration. And there's another Filipinos lady actually came to me and said, like, this is what happened with my family when the Japanese soldier came to my house. So this is kind of like, oh my gosh, this is not only talking about Indonesia, it talk about, many different political turmoil that happen around the world. Yeah,
so it gives people space to create their own imagination, and the representation on stages in an open way. What are other themes you focus on in your puppet work?
It's very interesting because we kind of like always go to the lost kind of like theme. So the latest stage production that we did was, the title is Puno Letters to the Sky. This piece supposed to be traveled to Japan actually on May as well.
Say the title again, I didn't fully hear it.
Puno, Letters to the Sky.
Okay.
So for this piece, it's dedicated for the children that lost their parents. We found that in Indonesia, I faced lots of loss of parents, and they still have little kids because of the health problems, those kind of, or accident. And it's also happened with my family. I lost my brother, and I have my niece and my nephew as well. So I found that, what should we say to these little kids about the loss of their parents? So in that piece, we actually asking people through our social media before our production happened. We asked them to send us letters. We say to them, if you miss your beloved one who already passed away, whoever they are, send them letters and write them letters and send it to us. And we promise to send it to the sky. So we received hundreds of letters with so many different languages, and we rewrote it on paper boats, and we install it to the ceiling of the theater. And by the end of the show, all of these letters coming down, and then it's kind of like rain of paper boats with handwritten letters on it. And then people can read one by one of those letters after the show. So for this kind of situation, we found that, my gosh, we travel with that piece, and every time we finish the production, we finish the performance, it feels like we are in a room that people are grieving together, and they have the chance to just cry and admit that they're not okay, but then they know that they're not alone. So in that kind of situation, we found that, well, this is sometimes what arts can do to people. And it's very interesting because we perform in 3 cities in Indonesia, and there is a lady that keep watching all production. So she's following us to these 3 cities. And by the end, like the last city, she finally came to me and said, thank you, Ria. I've been following this production in 3 cities. And I said, wow, she's a big fan. In the beginning, like, oh, thank you so much. But then she said, because this is the promise that I made to my late husband. He died before we managed to see your production. But she's like, oh my gosh. Or a mother said 2 weeks ago, my son passed away. And thank you. Because of this piece, I feel like I can speak to him. So yeah, those kind of, we make those kind of.
So you really have such a strong connection to your audience. What you do is meaningful. It helps to understand life, go through life, and to come to terms with what we are facing. In this, for you personally as an artist, human being, this COVID crisis, did something change inside you? How are you experience this?
I appreciate the smallest thing these days. Like I go gardening, and I have times to do that. And then I got cough a little bit, and we got stressed with the little cough, just only about, oh my gosh, I got cough. So having this breathing normally, it's a bless because of this situation. So I found that, yeah, in this situation, I really appreciate teeny tiny things, that being surrounded people that you love, it's the most important thing. And then sharing positive energy, it's a cure. That's what I learned a lot from this situation. Of course, we kind of like forced to stop and slow down. And I think this is really strong for me, basically.
It's hard to do, to slow down.
It's beautiful to slow down.
Beautiful to be slowed down.
Beautiful to be slowed down, and to appreciate life, to be care to each other, and to help each other with what we can do. I think that's the most important thing that we need to have today, basically.
So how do you spend your day? How does it look like, a day in the life of a puppeteer in Jakarta?
In Yogyakarta. Jakarta is our capital city.
Yeah.
So in the morning, I go to watering my plants. I started to grow our foods, like plant some vegetables. And then I'm really into plants. So these days it's just like heaven for me to just do stuff with that. I play around with my son a lot, like because he's schooling from home. So yeah, I play around with him. And actually my husband started to create his printmaking studio because he's supposed to do a solo exhibition in New York as well on April.
Where?
In Sapar Contemporary in Chelsea. Is it in Chelsea? Oh, Tribeca, in Tribeca. So he's supposed to, he already packed all of his works, but he couldn't go. So, but yeah, we keep like it's very interesting because every morning it's all the coffee time for me and my husband, and we discuss a lot about artistic, aesthetic, like ideas. So this is really magical in because as an like I've told you, we have scheduled like a year before, planning of months, all the calendar are full with colors, but suddenly it's all white and blank. So this is for us in a way that we are very lucky that we can still say that this is precious time for us to stop, because some of other people, they don't know what to deal with these blank calendars, right? But we found that, wow, this is amazing, this is kind of like, this is precious. So it's built more energy to make works in a way.
And do you read things, or do you listen to different things? What are you? How do you keep your engine warm, as you call it?
I started to take online classes.
on what?
Online classes.
Yeah, with what?
Like storytelling. Really get back to the basic storytelling. Or I just bought an online classes of making children pictorial books, and I will start it tomorrow. I'm so excited with that. Like lots of long dreams, like making books, like okay, maybe this is the time to start. So reading books, children books mostly, because I would love to get more inspired to start, like maybe I need to start to draw again. So
So
not really. We don't have TV at home, so you're not watching TV at all. So
maybe it will be the beginning of the Papermoon publishing house.
We do have it.
Oh, you do?
Voila. So this is from the...
I see.
This is from the Letters to the Sky production. And I made the script into pictorial books, basically. And right now we are also preparing for a book of Papermoon. It is written by 25 people from around the world as well, writing article about Papermoon Puppet Theatre. And we are now on process on layouting that and started to print it. And it will be published also in English version, hopefully.
Fantastic.
Very near future.
And maybe if we are back to you, one day you come to the Segal Center and you present your work. So do you think Indonesia will change, or your city will change through COVID? Is your relation to the city and your work, do you think there will be a difference?
So I'm not, well, with Papermoon's work, as soon as we start our work, maybe like what you said before, a teeny tiny intimate production will be the best choice for that one to start with. And then we love intimate productions, and it's what we've been making actually. The production that we did in Antique Shop, it was just contained 25 people. So that will be like that, in my opinion. But also, how about the cities? This is very interesting, Frank, because in Jogja, we got a big, very active volcano mountain. And we got hit by earthquake, very big earthquake on 2006. So people in Jogja, I can say, that's why we kind of like very fast to support each other. Because I can say we kind of like get in used to disaster. So this is what we found very interesting, because in the time that it passed, then people come back to their life again, like normal life. I don't know what will be the new normal for this time. It definitely will change something to the city, especially because this is a tourist and very touristic city. So it will change, definitely. But I don't know in which direction.
Yeah, that is quite something. And for your fellow artists or theater artists, do you think they have, if you say you have 300 festivals, which is just incredible, but do you feel till next December, till the time, will they be able to feed themselves, to work, to be able to survive in a way that is respectful to their contribution they make to the society and the city and the community?
So this is what I found very interesting, that for our festival itself on October, we are trying hard to still keep it happen, but virtually. I know that it cut lots of the team that's supposed to, set up the lightings, and they won't work. So in this way, we kind of like, there's some festivals starting to support those workers, art workers. But again, it's initiated by independent, like communities of artists. So yeah, we can say that how will they survive? It's how we can just live in an enough for now. I think, not really like you said about asking about, did you get paid well with that? I don't know, but maybe this is enough for now. And to
Enough.
make sure, this is how to make sure that everyone are in the same loop. And this is our big homework today. I mean, I keep asking questions to our friends, our technical manager, because we're not doing performances with them, right? Like, are you okay? Can we just discuss to make something? And even like, okay, let's make a package of hampers for Idul Fitri, and then we'll sell it to support you guys, those kind of situation. It's the way that we really try to kind of
So
like,
as you do some merchandise or you produce things. I mean, we heard devastating account just now also from Brazil last week, where they say it's really about existential survival. They feel there's no support. Actually, the government is openly hostile against artists. The Ministry of Culture was completely shut down. As you know, Anurupa Roy from India said,
wow.
hundreds and thousands of people are out. There's an artistic village of artists of 1,000 or 1,800 families she helps to support, and they don't have enough to eat. But you feel Indonesia, in a way, as a society, will be able to provide in some way that people will come out of this.
I can feel that, because I don't know about the other cities, because I think it's quite different in many different places. But in Jogja, I can just say in our city itself, like for example, I just saw my friend posted on Instagram or in Facebook, they said about, oh yeah, in their street, they start to put foods like vegetables or whatever, rice, outside their gates. So anyone who feel they need it, they can just pick it up. Those are very, very simple, very basic, but it's such a big gesture for me.
Yeah.
So like there is a school for what do you call it? Like street children. They're making farm, and then they're open. If people would love to donate some money, you can get some vegetables, but these other veggies will go to another communities that will need it. So I found that this is very big happen, and we're not that kind of like lockdown like Italy. So we still can still go, and it's not really stressful in that way, because other countries you really couldn't go. Like thinking about India, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm a good friend of Anurupa as well, so it's just like I couldn't imagine that. It's very, very hard situation.
And we are coming closer to the end. Do you feel there's something what you wish would change, or what a government could do or should do to make your work easier? Is there something you feel you can ask for, what you would dream of that would make your work easier?
Wow, it's a very hard situation, I think, because no government are ready with this situation. Like no one in this whole world are ready with this situation. I think, I don't know, I couldn't say anything to, maybe this is, we're getting used to work with ourselves. So thinking of asking the government to do something, it's, as long as they just provide the good health care and facilities, that's amazing, and I really wish for the people that can help hand in hand. I think the people powers is what we really need today. It's not just only hang on, the government or the rich people or whatever, but all hand in hands. I think it's the time for that.
So everybody is called to action, to participate, to be actively involved, and make the world a better place. Since you also teach and give seminars, what do you say to young artists who are coming out, whether it's Indonesia or people who listen to us, or also our viewers? What do you think is the important thing to focus about, or what to keep in mind in this time of Corona and this time of lockdown?
Keep your engine warm. So that's the first thing. Like you just need, for us in Papermoon, we have this, in the COVID-19 era, we have this statement of, imagination is much more bigger rather than space. So even our body is locked, our imaginations needs to be, going somewhere else. It can go further and bigger. So I hope that each of us can help each other to keep that alive, because that is what we really, really need these days, Frank. Like, if you don't have more, clear ideas or imagination or positive energy in your life, it's all go very, very dark and very hard. And I can say, like, let's try to make a little lights in this foggy night. So I think that's what we can do together. We need to do together to pass this.
No, this is a wonderful symbol to create light in the fog of life we live in, and to keep the engine warm, and to participate, and to make this world a place that is accessible for everyone, and that also to think about everyone. This is a wonderful, inspiring conversations. Thank you so much for staying up so late. It's almost midnight. And
I've got pumped now. My battery is on. Thank you so
I see your light is on, your lantern, and in the very back, it's a beautiful space you have there, and I see a hammock and all of it. So really, really thank you, and I hope you will be back to New York, and also shows the significance of institutions like the Asian Cultural Council, the Asia Society, to help us to connect, to be together, and to influence that you came to New York and something happened in your work, and then New York artists travel and go around. So thank you, really. This was an important update, and I hope that everything will work out as planned, and that it will be a time soon that we can go back to sharing life together with everyone. And we will go on this week with our talks. Tomorrow we have Pamela Miloresi from Italy, an actor, a director who runs a theater in Palermo in Sicily, Teatro Biondi, and she will come to us with Leoluca Orlando, the mayor, the great mayor of Palermo, who helped refugees to get off the boats with permissions, who really took a stand that his city is a city of theater, and the significance of incorporating, including, engaging with the refugee community. Palermo, of course, in Sicily is much closer to the front lines in Europe, and that's idea. So it's an important update, and to hear of the revitalization of that town. The great Richard Foreman, the great master of theater, experimental theater, and theater in general, will join us on Wednesday and talk what's on his mind, which is always enlightening and significant. Thomas Oberender from Berlin and the Berlin Festspiele, who runs the Gropiusbau, the Immersion Festival, the Theatertreffen, the theater meeting in Berlin, and overlooks the film Festspiele as well as the jazz festival. He is one of the minds that observe the landscape in Europe and in Germany, and it's the first time we also will have curators now joining us. We're slowly opening up to curators, thinkers, philosophers, others. So it will be interesting to hear his take, what the ramifications will be, and how he is experiencing this from his home. And on Friday we have New York artists with us. Philip Howe will come and talk to us and give an update how he experiences as a playwright, and he will be joined by two other guests. It is not all fully clear who it will be, but it will be insight into the New York theater community. So thank you really for joining us. Thanks to our listeners for taking the time out of the busy days. We all experience how fast the day passes, even with this. Strange to think that it's been 2 months now, and how fast 2 months pass in our normal lives. We don't even recognize it. On the way, it kind of slowed us all down, but made us reflect, but it also moved fast. And it's a significant time, an important time in life. As you said, the universe wants to breathe. As some people say, maybe the world is a dream by a god, and in his dream he takes a break, and we are experiencing that. So we look forward to our upcoming talks, and thanks to HowlRound again, Thea, Travis for hosting us, and Vijay, the Segal team, San Yang, and a great Andy who just joined us. We said goodbye to Jackie and May, who went on to different different paths. So thank you all for coming. I hope you will join in tomorrow, and stay safe, stay tuned. All the talks can be accessed on HowlRound. Just go on the HowlRound, do HowlRound and the artist, or on the Segal Center YouTube site. Again, thank you so much. This has been an honor to talk to you, and I look forward to meeting you in New York one day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much, Frank, for having